This is audio log 1, day 1 of the quarantine protocol. My name is Chris Harmon. I'm the building manager at Westlake Towers. The government has initiated a complete lockdown of our building as of 0600 hours this morning. I've been instructed to keep daily records of all activities and observations during the containment period. So that's what I'm doing here. Not that there's going to be much to report. According to the containment team, there are only 3 of us left in this entire 12-story building. Me, Mrs. Chen in 2A, and that college kid in 7C. Jason, I think his name is. Everyone else either evacuated before the cordon went up, or they didn't make it. They've sealed off every apartment individually. Plastic sheeting over the doors and windows. Some kind of rubber gasket material along the edges. Each unit has its own air filtration system now. The hallways are considered contaminated zones. I've been given special dispensation to access common areas, since I need to maintain critical building systems. But I've got this hazmat suit I'm required to wear whenever I leave my apartment. I'm still trying to wrap my head around how fast this all happened. 3 weeks ago, everything was normal. Then reports started coming about the outbreak in the city center. They said it was contained. They always say it's contained, don't they? Then suddenly we had cases in our neighborhood, then our building. Then people started dying. This plague, they still won't give us its official name. It works fast. Incubation period of just 24 to 36 hours. First symptoms are a dry cough, then fever, then the skin lesions. After that, well, I've seen enough. Nobody lasts more than 5 days once symptoms appear, and it's airborne, which is why we're locked down like this. The government team says we'll be in quarantine for at least 60 days. They've stocked each apartment with supplies. Since I'm the building manager, I'm supposed to check in with the other survivors twice daily by phone. No face-to-face contact allowed, not even through the sealed doors. Too risky, they say. I just spoke with Mrs. Chen a few minutes ago. She's scared, but holding up okay. Said she's got her medications and enough food. Jason hasn't answered his phone yet today, but the kid keeps odd hours. I'll try again this evening. Testing protocols are strict. Every morning at 8, we each have to perform a self-test with the kits they've provided. Results upload automatically through the building's Wi-Fi to the containment team outside. Anyone showing positive gets, well, evacuated is the term they used. I didn't ask for clarification on that. The team in hazmat suits comes through once a week to deliver supplies and collect waste. Next visit is scheduled for day 7. Until then, it's just the 3 of us, each sealed in our own little bubble. End of log 1. Audio log 5, day 5 of quarantine. All systems operational. Power, water, and internet still functioning normally. Daily self-tests for all 3 residents came back negative again today, which is a good sign. Mrs. Chen says her arthritis is acting up, but she's managing with her medication. Finally got in touch with Jason yesterday evening. He sounded, I don't know, disoriented maybe. Said he was just tired from Bing, watching shows all night. I'll keep an eye on his test results. I made my daily rounds of the building in the hazmat suit. Checked the boiler electrical panels, roof access. Everything looks secure. The military presence outside has been reduced. I can only see 2 armored vehicles from my window now, instead of the 5 they had stationed here initially. The news feed they're allowing us to access keeps saying the plague is being contained. But I've been listening to the shortwave radio I keep for emergencies. Reports don't sound good. Major cities across the country are implementing similar quarantine zones. They're not calling it a pandemic yet, but what else would you call it? One strange thing today, when I was checking the 4th floor, I thought I heard something coming from Unit 4B. Just a sort of shuffling sound, like furniture being moved maybe. But that's impossible. 4B has been empty since the Williamsons moved out last month, and no one could have gotten in after the quarantine team sealed everything. I checked the manifest they left me. 4B is definitely listed as vacant. Must have been pipes settling or something from the unit above. I'll check again tomorrow. 7, day 7 of quarantine. The supply team came through today as scheduled. They were efficient, in and out in under 30 minutes. Left new food rations, medical supplies, and test kits outside each occupied apartment. Collected the waste bags we'd left in the hallway. Minimal contact, just as they promised. One of them, a younger guy, seemed nervous. Kept looking around like he expected something to jump out at him. When I asked him how things were going outside, he just shook his head and said it was containable. Not exactly reassuring. Mrs. Chen reported that her television signal was cutting out intermittently. I checked the building's satellite dish, but couldn't find any obvious issues. Might be the service provider having problems. Or maybe the government restricting certain broadcasts. Wouldn't surprise me. Jason's test results came through normally, but he didn't answer when I called for our evening check-in. I'll try again tomorrow morning. If he doesn't respond, I'll have to report it to the containment team. Protocol says any break in the communication schedule has to be flagged immediately. I made another pass by the 4th floor today. Stood outside 4B for almost 10 minutes just listening. Nothing. But when I put my hand on the door, and I know this sounds crazy, I could have sworn I felt vibration, like someone walking heavily inside, and the plastic sheeting over the door. It didn't look quite right. The seal at the bottom corner seemed looser than it should be. I checked the logs again. 4B is definitely listed as vacant. No one should be in there. But something isn't right. Maybe I'm just getting paranoid from being cooped up too long. It's only been a week, and I'm already talking to myself more than is probably healthy. At least I've got these logs to keep me sane. End of log 7. Audio log 9. Day 9 of quarantine. I couldn't sleep last night. Kept thinking about 4B. Around 2 in the morning, I put on the hazmat suit and went down to check it again. The hallway was dark. We're on reduced power to the common areas to conserve energy. I stood outside 4B with just my flashlight, and I heard it clearly this time. Movement inside, soft but unmistakable. The sound of someone trying very hard to be quiet. I nearly knocked on the door, but something stopped me. The containment team was explicit. No unnecessary contact. If 4B is supposed to be empty according to official records, but someone is in there. What does that mean? Is it someone who slipped through the evacuation? A squatter who was hiding when the building was sealed? Or something worse? I retreated to my apartment and spent the rest of the night reviewing everything the containment team told me. According to them, they did a sweep of every single unit before sealing the building. Nobody could have been missed, and nobody could have gotten in afterward. There are motion sensors on the roof and all ground level entry points. This morning's self-tests came back negative for all 3 registered residents. I spoke with Mrs. Chen, who reported no problems. Jason finally answered his phone. He sounded better than last time, but said he's been having vivid nightmares. Not surprising under the circumstances. I didn't mention 4B to either of them. I'm not sure why. Maybe I'm afraid they'll think I'm losing it. Or maybe I'm afraid the containment team monitors these calls and will do something drastic if they think the quarantine has been breached. I need more information before I decide what to do next. End of log 9. Audio log 12, day 12 of quarantine. The power went out for 3 hours this morning. Emergency generators kicked in for essential systems only. Minimal lighting, refrigeration, and the test kit upload system. I had to check each floor to make sure nothing critical was damaged. When power was restored, when I reached the 4th floor, I noticed something odd. The plastic sheeting over apartment 4B had definitely been tampered with. The seal along the left side had been carefully loosened and then replaced. You wouldn't notice unless you were looking for it, but I've been studying that door for days now. Someone has been going in and out of that apartment. While the power was out, I took the opportunity to check the building's security logs on my tablet. The quarantine team gave me access so I could monitor for breaches. What I found makes no sense. According to the log, the last time 4B was officially opened was 15 days ago. 3 days before quarantine began, when a containment team member conducted the final sweep. But here's the strange part: the system shows power usage in 4B. Not much, just enough to suggest maybe a few small electronic devices. How is that possible in a supposedly empty apartment? I need to check the main electrical panel to see if I can get more detailed usage data. But I'm becoming more and more certain that someone is hiding in there. The question is, who? And why weren't they registered during the quarantine setup? In other news, Mrs. Chen's test results were delayed by 2 hours this morning, probably because of the power outage. When they finally came through, they were negative, thank goodness. Jason's were normal too. Both of them seemed concerned about the power outage, but I assured them it was just a technical glitch. I've started carrying my maintenance master key with me at all times now. I'm not planning to use it. Breaking quarantine protocol would be extremely dangerous, but it makes me feel better to have the option. End of log 12. Audio log 15. Day 15 of quarantine, 2 weeks in now. The second supply drop came today. Different team this time. They seemed in an even bigger hurry than the first group. Barely spoke to me at all, just left the supplies and rushed out. I tried to ask one of them about conditions outside. All she would say was, follow protocols and stay inside. Not exactly informative, but I noticed their hazmat suits were different, heavier grade than the ones the first team wore, and they were armed. Not obviously, but I saw the outlines of what looked like sidearms under their suits. What aren't they telling us? Mrs. Chen reported hearing strange noises last night. Said it sounded like someone walking in the hallway outside her apartment around midnight. I checked the security logs, but there was no recorded movement in the second floor hallway during that time period. Either the sensors are malfunctioning or someone knows how to avoid them. And there's more. When I was checking the main electrical panel today, I discovered something disturbing. There's a secondary circuit that doesn't appear on any of the building schematics. It runs to several points throughout the building, including 4B. It looks like it was installed recently. The wiring is newer than the rest of the panel. Did the containment team set up some kind of monitoring system they didn't tell me about? Or is something else going on here? I've tried calling the emergency contact number they gave me, but all I get is a recorded message saying all inquiries will be addressed during the next scheduled supply drop. That's not for another 5 days. Jason didn't respond to either my morning or evening check in calls today. His test results uploaded normally, negative again. But I haven't spoken to him in 2 days now. Protocol says I should report this to the containment team immediately. But given everything else that's happening, I'm hesitant to draw their attention. I'll give him 1 more day to respond before I report it. Meanwhile, the noises from 4B continue. Last night around 3 a.m., I heard what sounded like a metallic clang, followed by muffled cursing. Definitely human. Definitely not supposed to be there. End of log 15. Audio log 16, day 16 of quarantine. Jason is gone. I went up to 7C this morning in full hazmat gear. Breaking protocol, I know, but I had to check. His door was still sealed from the outside, plastic sheeting intact. I called his name, knocked repeatedly. Nothing. Using my master key, I overrode the electronic lock and went inside. The apartment was empty. Completely empty. Not just no Jason. No personal belongings either. The food rations were still there, neatly stacked in the kitchen. Test kits lined up on the counter. But no clothes, no laptop. None of the video game equipment I'd helped him move in 3 months ago. It looked like no one had ever lived there. But that's impossible. I spoke to him just 3 days ago. His test results have been uploading every morning, including today. How can he be testing if he's not here? I checked his bathroom and found the answer. Or at least part of it. The test kits were set up on an automated system. Some kind of crude robotic arm. Jury-rigged to activate the test at precisely 8 a.m. each day. It would press the test wand to a small vial of what I assume is clean synthetic saliva, or something similar, then insert it into the reader for upload. Someone went to a lot of trouble to make it look like Jason was still here. But why? And where is he now? I went back to my apartment and pulled up the security logs again. This time I went back further, to the very beginning of the quarantine. What I found, I don't even know how to process it. According to the logs, Jason hasn't left his apartment since the quarantine began, but he's also not in his apartment now. The only explanation is that either he found a way out that bypasses all the sensors, or he was never there to begin with. Is it possible the Jason I've been speaking to on the phone wasn't actually in 7C at all? Could he have been somewhere else in the building the whole time, like maybe 4B? But then, who set up the automated testing system in his apartment? And why? I'm starting to wonder if anything about this quarantine is what it seems. I've decided not to report Jason's disappearance yet. First, I need to know what's happening in 4B. Tomorrow I'm going in, end of log 16, audio log 17, day 17 of quarantine. It's almost midnight. I'm recording this from my apartment after the most disturbing day since the quarantine began. This morning's test results came in as usual, all negative, including Jason's automated fake. I made my usual call to Mrs. Chen. She sounded anxious, said she'd heard more noises in the hallway last night. I told her to keep her door locked and not to open it for anyone but the official supply team. I didn't tell her about Jason. I didn't tell her what I was planning to do. At 11 a.m., I put on my hazmat suit and took my maintenance kit to the 4th floor. I stood outside 4B for several minutes listening. Nothing. I used my master key on the electronic lock, but it didn't work. The lock had been reprogrammed. That should be impossible. My key is supposed to override any setting. I had to use a pry bar to break through. So much for protocol. Once I got the door open, I found that the interior had been transformed. The standard apartment furniture was pushed against the walls. The center of the living room was filled with electronic equipment, monitors, computers, what looked like communications gear. One wall was covered with maps of the city with red circles marking what I assume are quarantine zones. Much more of the city is circled than what they've been telling us on the news feeds. Most disturbing of all were the monitors. They showed live feeds from inside apartments throughout the building, including mine, including Mrs. Chen's. They've been watching us this whole time. I was so shocked that I didn't immediately notice I wasn't alone. Someone stepped out from the bedroom. A man in his 30s wearing what looked like a military uniform, but with no insignia or identifying marks. He didn't seem surprised to see me. "Mr. Harmon," he said, "we were wondering when you'd finally come check on us." Yes. 2 more came out of the kitchen area. Similar unmarked uniforms. "What is this?" I asked them. "Who are you people?" The first man smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile. "We're the 4th apartment," he said. Like that explained everything. There are always 3 registered survivors and a 4th apartment in every quarantine zone policy. I asked what happened to Jason. The man just pointed to one of the screens showing 7C with its automated testing setup. "Subject 3 is no longer relevant to the study," was all he would say. Study. They called it a study. I started backing toward the door, but one of them moved to block my way. The first man told me I should return to my apartment and continue my logs as normal. Said it was important for the data, that I maintain my routine. Said I should forget what I'd seen. How the hell am I supposed to forget this? I don't know how I managed to keep my composure, but somehow I nodded and walked out like everything was normal. Came straight back here to record this. Nothing about this quarantine is what we were told. I don't even know if there really is a plague, or if this is all some kind of twisted experiment. What I do know is that I'm being watched. Mrs. Chen is being watched, and Jason is gone. I need to warn Mrs. Chen. I need to find a way to contact the outside world that bypasses whatever communication system these people in 4B are monitoring. And I need to figure out what happened to Jason before the same thing happens to me. End of log 17. Audio log 18. Day 18 of quarantine. I barely slept last night. Kept thinking about those people in 4B watching me through hidden cameras. Kept wondering what happened to Jason. I've checked my apartment thoroughly. Found 2 cameras and what looks like a listening device hidden in the smoke detector. I've left them in place. Better they think I'm oblivious. I spoke with Mrs. Chen this morning. Wanted to warn her somehow, but I'm certain they're monitoring our calls. Had to keep it casual. Asked if she'd noticed anything unusual about her apartment. She just complained about the television reception again. Either she hasn't found the surveillance equipment, or she's smart enough not to mention it. The man from 4B called me about an hour ago. Used the building's internal phone system. Said he wanted to clear the air after our encounter yesterday. Identified himself as Davis. Said he's part of a government research team studying quarantine protocols. Claims the surveillance is standard procedure, authorized at the highest levels. Said Jason violated containment and had to be removed from the study. Wouldn't elaborate on what that means. Davis wants me to keep performing my building manager duties as normal. Says the integrity of their data depends on it. When I asked how long the quarantine would really last, he avoided giving a direct answer. Just said it would continue until they had sufficient data. I'm playing along for now. Made my usual rounds of the building in the hazmat suit. Checked all the critical systems. Deliberately avoided looking at 4B. Let them think I'm cooperating. But I need a plan. If I can't trust the containment team, and I can't trust the people in 4B, who can I trust? Maybe Novlog 18, audio log 20, day 20 of quarantine. Something's wrong with Mrs. Chen. Our morning check in call was strange. She seemed confused, kept losing her train of thought. When I asked about her medications, she said the supply team had replaced them with new ones during the last drop. Said the new pills make her sleepy. I don't like this. The next scheduled supply drop isn't for 2 more days. If someone gave her different medication, it wasn't the official team. I've been studying the building schematics, looking for ways to move between floors that might avoid the hallway sensors. The garbage chutes might work, but they're too narrow for a person. The elevator shafts are a possibility, but risky. The best option might be the old dumbwaiter system that was sealed off during the renovation 5 years ago. The access panels were just covered with drywall, not removed entirely. I could probably break through if I had to. Davis from 4B has been checking in with me daily now. Always very polite, very professional. Asks about my observations of the quarantine conditions. I feed him mundane details, nothing important. His 2 colleagues remain nameless. I only see them occasionally on my rounds, glimpse through the partly open door of 4B. They're always watching those monitors. Last night, the power went out again. Just for 30 minutes this time. When it came back on, I noticed the hallway camera on my floor had been repositioned. It now points directly at my door. They're not even being subtle anymore. The news feed they allow us to access keeps showing the same reports, same footage. I'm starting to wonder if it's actually live, or just a loop they're feeding us. My shortwave radio is picking up fewer and fewer transmissions. The ones I do catch are fragmented, distorted. But from what I can piece together, the situation outside is worse than what we're being told. End of log 20. Audio log 22, day 22 of quarantine. The regular supply team came today. I was waiting for them, had my questions ready. But it wasn't the same people as before. These ones wouldn't engage at all. Left the supplies and practically ran out of the building. Their hazmat suits had a different insignia too. Not the public health department logo the others wore, but some kind of military marking I didn't recognize. I tried calling Mrs. Chen after they left. No answer. I've tried 5 times now. Nothing. I'm going to have to check on her. Protocol be damned. If they've done something to her like they did to Jason. Wait, I'm hearing something in the hallway. Heavy footsteps. Not trying to be quiet. I'll continue this log later. It's 3 hours later now. I've just returned to my apartment. What I saw. I don't know how to process this. It was Davis and his two colleagues from 4B. They were carrying Mrs. Chen on a stretcher. She appeared to be unconscious, wrapped in some kind of sealed body bag with a clear panel over her face. I confronted them, demanded to know what they were doing. Davis was calm, said Mrs. Chen had failed her morning test and was being moved to a treatment facility. But I checked the test results myself earlier today. All negatives, including hers. I told him this. He just stared at me for a moment, then said, "Mr. Harmon, perhaps you misunderstood the nature of the tests we're conducting." They took her away, down to the service entrance on the ground floor. I followed at a distance, saw them load her into an unmarked van. Not an ambulance, just a plain white van. No medical equipment inside that I could see. I'm now the only official resident left in the building, besides the team in 4B. Am I next? Is this whole plague just a cover for something else? I need to find out what's really going on. End of log 22. Audio log 23. Day 23 of quarantine. I've made a decision. Tonight, I'm going to break into 4B again and try to access their computers. I need information. What they're really doing here. What happened to Jason and Mrs. Chen. What this study is actually about. I've spent the day preparing. Found an old digital camera in the storage room that might be useful for gathering evidence. Charged it up. Located the circuit breaker that controls power to the 4th floor. Might need to create a diversion. Davis called earlier. Asked about Mrs. Chen in a way that suggested he expected me to have noticed her absence. I played dumb. Said I hadn't been able to reach her today, but assumed she was just resting. He seemed satisfied with that. Said he'd have one of his colleagues check on her, which we both knew was a lie. The self-test kit they provided for today looked different than the previous ones. The testing wand had a slightly different shape, the liquid reagent a different color. I almost used it, then stopped myself. What if the tests aren't testing for the plague at all? What if they're administering something? I fake-it the test instead, activated without actually using it on myself. The reader still showed negative and uploaded the result. Just as I suspected, the results are predetermined. This isn't about testing at all. I'll record again after I've been to 4B, assuming I make it back. If something happens to me, and somehow these logs are found later, none of this was what we were told. The quarantine, the plague, all of it. It's something else entirely. End of log 23. Audio log 24. Day 24 of quarantine. I'm alive, but I'm not sure for how much longer. What I discovered in 4B last night. I need to document this while I still can. I waited until 2 a.m., when the building was quietest, cut power to the 4th floor, then used the emergency stairwell to get there. The door to 4B was locked again, but I'd brought better tools this time. Got it open in under a minute. The apartment was dark, emergency lights only. No sign of Davis or the others. They must have sleeping quarters elsewhere in the building. The monitoring equipment was still running on backup power. I found a laptop that had been left unlocked and started searching through the files. Most of it was encrypted, but I found a folder of reports labeled Quarantine Behavioral Study, Phase 3. Scanned them quickly. From what I could gather, this isn't about containing a plague. It's about studying how people behave during extended isolation under the belief that they're in danger of infection. The containment protocols, the tests, the sealed apartments, all designed to create conditions of extreme stress and fear. But that's not the worst part. According to their documentation, similar studies are being conducted in quarantine zones across the country. Thousands of people, all unknowingly participating in some kind of massive psychological experiment. I found personnel files too. Davis's real name is Major Andrew Davis, military intelligence. His colleagues are also military, not CDC, not public health officials. This is a military operation disguised as a public health emergency. I was downloading files to the camera's memory card when I heard them coming back. Hadn't expected them to respond to the power outage so quickly. I hid in the bathroom, but they did a sweep of the apartment. Found me easily. There was a struggle. I'm not as young as I used to be, and there were 3 of them. Davis seemed almost amused by my attempted espionage, said I was displaying classic paranoia consistent with prolonged quarantine conditions, as if my suspicions weren't completely justified. The others wanted to process me immediately, whatever that means. Davis overruled them, said I was still providing valuable data as the control subject, said my growing awareness of the study parameters presented an interesting variable. Or they let me go. If you can believe it, escorted me back to my apartment. Davis said he was curious to see how I'd adapt to my new understanding. Told me to keep doing my logs, keep following my routine, as if anything could be normal after what I've learned. But I'm certain of one thing now. There is no plague. The quarantine is the experiment. End of log 24. Audio log 25, day 25 of quarantine. They're watching me more closely now. Davis has started calling twice daily. Check-ins. His colleagues follow me openly when I make my rounds of the building. No more pretense that this is a normal quarantine situation. I asked Davis directly today what happened to Jason and Mrs. Chen. He was surprisingly forthcoming, said they were transferred to the next phase of the study. When I asked what that meant, he said different subjects respond differently to the simulated quarantine conditions. Those who show excessive stress responses or problematic adaptation patterns are moved to a more controlled environment for further observation. I tried to get him to admit there's no real plague. He neither confirmed nor denied it, just said the pathogen threat narrative was a necessary component of the experimental design. The more I think about it, the more I realize how elaborate this deception is. The sealed apartments, the hazmat suits, the testing kits, all props in their psychological experiment. Even the supply team is part of the act. But why? What's the purpose of all this? Davis won't say directly, but he hinted that understanding human behavior under quarantine conditions has significant national security implications. Are they developing protocols for future pandemics, or something more sinister? I've been checking for surveillance devices more thoroughly. Found 3 more cameras hidden in my apartment, plus audio recorders in nearly every room. They're documenting everything I do, everything I say, including these logs. I'm certain Davis listens to them. He's probably listening right now. Good, let him listen. Let him hear that I'm not buying into their experiment anymore. End of log 25. Audio log 27. Day 27 of quarantine. Haven't recorded for a couple of days, and needed time to think to plan. Davis has continued his twice daily check-ins. Always asks how I'm processing recent developments. Always reminds me to continue my routine, including these logs. The routine seems important to their study parameters. They want to see how long I'll maintain the pretense of normal building management duties, even knowing there's no real need for it. So I've been playing along, making my rounds, checking systems, all while looking for a way out of this situation. Last night, I tried the dumbwaiter shaft I mentioned before, broke through the drywall in the service corridor, and found the old shaft still accessible. It runs from the basement to the roof, with stops at each floor. The car itself is long gone, but the shaft remains. It's tight, but I could fit through it if necessary. I've also been watching the comings and goings of Davis and his team more closely. They seem to have set up their sleeping quarters in the old penthouse on the 12th floor. Only one of them stays in 4B at any given time, monitoring the surveillance feeds. They rotate shifts every 8 hours. Most importantly, I've discovered they have a satellite phone. Saw one of them using it on the roof yesterday. That's my best chance of contacting someone outside, assuming there's anyone out there who isn't part of this experiment. The question is, who would I even call? If this is a government-sanctioned military operation, who can I trust? Local police, media, both could be compromised. I need to think carefully about my next move. Davis mentioned today that they'll be concluding this phase of the study soon. Said I should prepare for transition. I don't like the sound of that. I think my time is running out. End of log 27. Audio log 29, Day 29 of quarantine. The situation has deteriorated rapidly. Yesterday I overheard Davis arguing with his colleagues. Couldn't make out everything, but I heard phrases like termination protocol and loose ends. One of them was advocating for immediate processing, while Davis seemed to be arguing for continuation of the study. This morning, one of Davis's colleagues, the taller one with the scar on his face, followed me throughout my entire rounds. Didn't even pretend to be discreet about it. Stood there watching me check the boiler, the electrical panels. When I asked if there was a problem, he just stared at me silently. Even more concerning, the supply drop scheduled for today never arrived. I asked Davis about it during our afternoon check in call. He said there had been a scheduling adjustment and dismissed my concerns about running low on food. His tone was different, colder, more clinical. I don't think I'm just a test subject to them anymore. I think I've become a liability. Tonight I'm going to make my move. I've spent the past 2 days gathering supplies, tools, food, the digital camera with the files I managed to download from their computer. I've plotted a route through the dumbwaiter shaft to the roof. If I can get to their satellite phone, I might have a chance. I'm recording this log earlier than usual, while I'm still alone in my apartment. By the time they realize I'm not following the routine, I hope to be long gone. If anyone ever hears these recordings, the quarantine was fake. The plague was fake. It was all an experiment in social control disguised as a public health emergency. And it's happening in buildings just like this one all across the country. I don't know if I'll be able to record any more logs after this. If not, well, at least I tried to document the truth. End of log 29. Audio log 30, day 30 of quarantine. I'm recording this from inside the dumbwaiter shaft between the 6th and 7th floors. Been hiding here for hours. They're searching the building for me. Last night didn't go as planned. I made it to the roof, found their satellite communication equipment, was about to use the phone when Davis and both his colleagues appeared. They'd anticipated my move, been waiting for me. Davis seemed almost disappointed, said I'd been such a promising subject but had compromised the integrity of the study. The other two were already advancing on me. I did the only thing I could, ran for the dumbwaiter access panel I'd identified earlier and squeezed inside. They've been searching methodically, floor by floor. I can hear them occasionally, calling out to each other, coordinating their efforts. They know I'm in the building somewhere. The most disturbing development, I heard them discussing initiation of terminal protocol for quarantine zone 7. That's us, this building. I think they're planning to eliminate all evidence of their experiment, including me. I've been trying to think of a way out. The building is still sealed, still guarded externally according to what I could see from the roof. Even if I could break out, where would I go? Who would believe me? Wait, I hear something. Movement in the shaft below me. They've found the access point. I need to move. If anyone ever finds these recordings, tell the world what they did here. Tell them about the 4th apartment. Wait, what's that smell? Some kind of gas. They're pumping something into the shaft. Getting dizzy. Hard to God. I just realized. The plague. What if it was real all along? What if this was never about an experiment? What if they were just studying how the infected behave before? I can hear them coming closer. Can't stay conscious much longer, need to. Audio log unknown, day unknown. I'm alive. I don't know how long it's been since my last recording. I lost consciousness in the dumbwaiter shaft. Woke up back in my apartment, locked in from the outside. They've taken all my tools, my camera, anything I could use as a weapon. The wound on my head suggests I didn't go quietly. Don't remember the fight. Concussion, maybe. Speech a little slurred. Thoughts not entirely clear. Davis visited earlier. Said I'd complicated things unnecessarily, but that they adjusted the parameters accordingly. Whatever gas they pumped into the shaft wasn't lethal, just some kind of sedative. Davis said they needed me conscious for the final phase. But the building feels different now, quieter. The hum of the ventilation system is gone. The power flickers occasionally, and there's a smell, something acrid chemical. It reminds me of hospital disinfectant, but stronger, more pervasive. They're still bringing me food and water, regular intervals, always when I'm sleeping, so I never see who delivers it. The food is different now, packaged military rations. The water tastes metallic. I've lost track of time. The clocks in my apartment have all been removed. My watch is gone. The light outside my windows never seems to change. A perpetual grey dusk. I think they've covered the windows with something to disorient me. Need to stay lucid. Need to figure out what they're planning. What is the final phase? Davis mentioned. End of log. Audio log subsequent. Still no way to track time. Could be days later, could be hours. My head is clearer now. Been exercising to stay sharp. Push-ups, sit-ups, walking laps around the apartment. I've been testing the boundaries. The front door is sealed. Not just locked, but reinforced with some kind of metal bar on the outside. I can hear it when I push against the door. The windows won't break. Not glass. Some kind of polymer that gives slightly but won't shatter, even when I hit it with a chair. The surveillance continues. I've found 5 new cameras, all installed at different angles to eliminate blind spots. They're not even trying to hide them anymore. They want me to know I'm being watched. Davis visits once per period of wakefulness. Hard to call it a day when I can't see the sun. Always asks the same questions. How am I feeling? Am I experiencing any symptoms? Do I notice any changes in my perception? He takes notes on a tablet, draws blood samples. Always wearing a hazmat suit now, fully sealed. No more casual conversations. I've started to wonder if I was wrong. What if there really is a plague? What if this really was a quarantine, and I just couldn't see it? The isolation, the confusion, it affected my mind more than I realized. No, I can't start doubting myself now. I saw their files. I know what this is. Some kind of psychological experiment. Stay focused, Chris. I've found one potential way out. The bathroom ventilation duct. It's small, but I might be able to squeeze through if I can remove the grill. Been working on loosening the screws whenever I think they're not watching. Slow work without proper tools, but making progress. Davis mentioned extraction during his last visit. Said a team would be coming soon to conclude the study. I don't think he meant they're letting me go. Need to be ready. Need to move before they do. End of log. Audio log. Continuing. Made a discovery. Been exploring every inch of my apartment, looking for anything I might have missed. Found something hidden inside the wall behind my refrigerator. A small metal box. Sealed with a combination lock. Must have been installed before the quarantine began. Spent hours trying different combinations. Finally got it open. Inside was a handheld radio. Military grade with a note for emergency extraction only. Channel 3. The note was signed J.A.B.O. Jason Winters. Jason from 7C. He wasn't just a college student. He was something else. Intelligence. A plant in the building before the quarantine. I tried the radio. Channel 3 is active but silent. I spoke briefly, identifying myself, asking for confirmation. Nothing yet, but the radio works. That's something. More concerning developments, the food has stopped coming. My last meal was, I don't know, maybe 12 hours ago. The water from the taps has taken on a stronger metallic taste. I'm rationing what I have left. And the smell in the building has intensified. That chemical odor is everywhere now. Sometimes I think I can see it, a faint haze in the air. Am I imagining things? Is it affecting my mind? Davis's visits have stopped too. No sign of him or his colleagues for what feels like more than a day. The surveillance cameras are still active, lights still blinking. Someone's still watching, but they're not interacting anymore. Just observing. The ventilation duct is almost ready. A few more hours of work, and I should be able to remove the grill. Where I'll go after that, I don't know. But staying here no longer feels like an option. End of log. Audio log. Urgent. The radio crackled to life about an hour ago. A voice asked for confirmation of my identity. When I responded, he said only, stand by for extraction. 0300. Be ready. I don't know if I can trust this voice. Could be Davis trying to lure me out. But what choice do I have? The smell is impossible to ignore now. My eyes burn constantly. Breathing is becoming difficult. I've tried covering my face with a wet cloth, but it only helps a little. Whatever they're pumping into the building, it's getting worse. More alarming, I've started noticing changes on my skin. Small red spots on my arms and chest. They don't hurt or itch, just appear, like tiny pinpricks of blood just under the skin. Plague the symptoms, or something else they're exposing me to. The ventilation duct is ready. I've removed the grill, verified that I can fit through. It leads to a larger shaft that should give me access to other parts of the building. My plan is to wait for this extraction, whatever it is. If it seems legitimate, I'll cooperate. If it's a trick, I'll use the duct to escape. 3 a.m., that's what they said. But without a clock, how will I know? I've been counting seconds, trying to track the passage of time. It's inexact, but the best I can do. If this is my last log, well, I've tried to document everything as accurately as possible. Whatever happens, there should be a record of what they did here. The quarantine that wasn't a quarantine. The plague that might never have existed. The fourth apartment that was never supposed to be found. End of log. Audio log. Final. It's done. I'm out of my apartment, recording this from the stairwell between the second and third floors. Need to document what happened while it's still fresh. I waited for the extraction, counted seconds until I estimated it was close to 3 a.m. Then I heard it. Helicopter approaching the building. Loud, military grade. Not trying to be stealthy. At first, I thought it might be Davis's. Conclusion of the study. Come to eliminate the evidence, including me. But then the radio activated again. Same voice, giving instructions. Roof access compromised. Proceed to south stairwell, descend to ground level. Team waiting at service entrance. I had seconds to decide. Trust the voice, or stick to my escape plan through the ventilation system. I chose the voice. Pulled the door handle, expecting resistance. It opened. They'd unlocked it remotely. The hallway was filled with that chemical haze, thicker than in my apartment. Had to cover my mouth and nose with a wet towel, just to breathe. Made my way toward the south stairwell. That's when I saw them. Davis and his 2 colleagues, sprawled on the floor outside 4B, dead. No visible wounds, but their skin had the same red spots I'd noticed on myself, multiplied 100-fold, covering every inch of exposed skin. The plague, it's real, or at least something is. I ran for the stairwell. That's where I am now. The radio crackled again a moment ago. Instructions to continue to the ground floor. Said they have a decontamination team waiting. I don't know who they are. Could be military. Could be another government agency come to clean up Davis's mess. Could be something else entirely. The red spots on my skin are spreading. No pain, but my vision is starting to blur at the edges. I need to keep moving. Need to reach the decontamination team, if they exist. If I don't make it, if someone finds this recorder, the truth is complicated. There was an experiment. Davis wasn't lying about that. But there's something else too. Something they either created or failed to contain. Moving now. Continuing down log. Audio log continuing. Ground floor. Service entrance in sight. Hazmat team visible through the glass doors. Different suits than what Davis and his team wore. More sophisticated. Military markings I don't recognize. The chemical haze is thickest here. Almost impossible to see more than a few feet ahead. My towel is nearly dry. Each breath burns. The spots have spread to my face now. Can feel them when I touch my skin, raised like tiny blisters. Still no pain, which seems wrong somehow. Shouldn't a plague hurt? The radio activated one more time. New voice female. Christopher Harmon, authorization to extract confirmed. Stand by for decontamination procedure. And the hazmat team is entering the building now. 3 of them. Moving with purpose. Military, precision. They're carrying some kind of equipment. Sprayers. Holding position until they reach me. Too weak to go further anyway. The edges of my vision are darkening. Hard to focus. Something's wrong with my perception of time. The hazmat team seems to be moving in slow motion. Or maybe my brain is processing things too slowly. They've reached me. Verification process underway. Questions about my identity, my position at the building. Confirming I'm the target for extraction. One of them is explaining something. Hard to focus on the words. Quarantine zone, security breach, experimental protocol. Need to know basis. They're preparing some kind of injection. Say it will help with the symptoms during transport. I don't have much choice at this point. The needle, cold, spreading through my system quickly. Vision clearing somewhat. They're telling me to keep recording. Want me to document the extraction process. Say it's important for their records. Being guided toward the exit now. Decontamination chamber set up just outside. Series of chemical showers and UV light treatments. One of the team members is explaining more as we walk. Says the quarantine was real, but that wasn't the whole story. Says Davis's team was studying the effects of the pathogen under controlled conditions. Behavioral changes, psychological impact, progression of symptoms. Says I was the control subject, uninfected, kept in isolation to compare my behavior with the infected subjects. Jason, Mrs. Chen, others in quarantine zones across the city. Says Davis exceeded his authority. The experiment was supposed to be observational only. When Davis started intervening, removing subjects, altering test results, it triggered an automatic oversight protocol. That's who these people are. The oversight team. Come to shut down Davis's operation. Too late for Davis and his colleagues, though. Exposure was total when the building's air filtration system failed 26 hours ago. Wait, if I was the control subject, the uninfected one, then what are these red spots? Why am I struggling to breathe? The team leader is answering before I even ask. Says Davis modified the experiment in its final phase. Introduced a secondary pathogen to the building's ventilation system. Wanted to observe how an uninfected subject would respond to a different contagion. So there were two pathogens. The plague that quarantined the building in the first place, and whatever Davis introduced at the end, whatever killed him and his team, whatever is affecting me now. Team leader says they have countermeasures for both. Says I'll be taken to a secure medical facility for treatment. Full decontamination before transport. Almost at the chamber now. They're saying I need to leave the recorder here. Can't take it through decontamination. One last thing they're telling me: the fourth apartment. Standard protocol in all quarantine zones. 3 monitored subjects, 1 monitoring station, but Davis had turned it into something else. His own private laboratory. End of log. Final entry. This is Dr. Liza Matsuda, Oversight Team Leader, appending to Christopher Harmon's audio logs for official documentation. Subject Harmon has been successfully extracted from Quarantine Zone 7. Decontamination procedures were completed at 04:30 hours. Subject is currently stable and responding well to treatment for secondary pathogen exposure. Preliminary assessment indicates Subject Harmon maintained higher cognitive function throughout the quarantine period than most control subjects in similar studies. His discovery of the monitoring station in apartment 4B and subsequent investigation demonstrates remarkable adaptability and resilience. Major Davis and his team have been confirmed deceased. Cause of death was exposure to the secondary pathogen following containment failure. Autopsy reports are pending but preliminary. Findings suggest the pathogen causes rapid neurological deterioration, followed by respiratory failure. All surveillance data from Quarantine Zone 7 has been recovered, including Davis's modified testing protocols and experiment logs. Disciplinary proceedings against other members of Davis's chain of command are recommended, as it's clear the modifications to the standard quarantine study were unauthorized at multiple levels. Subject Harmon's personal effects were recovered, including this recording device. Following standard procedure, the device will be sanitized and all data copied to secure servers before potential return to the subject, depending on final disposition determination. Speaking personally, off the official record, Harmon performed admirably under extreme duress. His resilience and adaptability are exactly the qualities we were studying in the first place. The quarantine protocols were designed to identify individuals capable of maintaining rational thought and decisive action under isolation and perceived threat. What Davis did, turning an observational study into an interventional one, was not just unauthorized, it was unconscionable. The secondary pathogen introduction was never part of any approved protocol. We're still investigating where he obtained it and what his end goal might have been. As for Harmon's future, that depends on how he responds to treatment, both medical and psychological. Subjects who demonstrate his level of resilience are typically considered for recruitment, rather than standard memory suppression and release. His building management background and age would normally disqualify him, but exceptions have been made before. End of official log. All further information regarding Subject Harmon and Quarantine Zone 7 is classified under National Security Directive 473. It takes a lot of time to create these videos. I would really appreciate your support. All I ask for is a quick like on the video and subscribe. Thank you so much.